Welcome to the show, folks. I'm Bill Wachowski.
And I'm Tony Maiello.
And we're two cynical a-holes. We're going to talk about stuff.
So, we saw a movie yesterday there, Bill.
Yeah, we did.
Now, are we going to go spoiler-free or...
No.
No? Okay.
We're a-holes.
All right, we're a-holes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do not want to be spoiled for Avengers Endgame, I suggest you turn the volume off now.
No. Who cares if we spoil it for you?
Well,
first I think we need to address that we are on location.
yes, we are currently in beautiful downtown Dayton, Ohio, at the Gem City Comic-Con. It is after day one of the convention. We are now in our lovely hotel room. I'll take the bullet for this one. I booked a real rat's nest. But at least the TV's working now.
Yeah, the TV's working now.
The AC is working now.
The AC's working.
We had an interesting first evening here.
We got some soap today.
Yes, we did get soap today.
Some
I had to
soap.
provide soap yesterday, or this morning.
We both did.
So, but
as we were lathering each other up.
Yeah, it was a disgusting display.
Mm.
But we came in yesterday to set up for the con, which is Saturday and Sunday. Yesterday, obviously, was Friday, and we decided to venture out into the wilds of Dayton to the local movie theater, or a local theater.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about the theater first?
Yeah, you know what? I used to complain about movie prices and the whole experience in Michigan, but I will never do that again.
No, I think we've gotten spoiled.
Yes,
because I mean, you go to the movie theater. Yes, the prices are high for concessions and such, but in Michigan, we have those plush reclining seats. And there's plenty of room. And, I mean, it's been like this for the last couple of years now.
Yes.
Where every theater is like this. Well, this theater,
Imagine started it off. So Imagine came into Michigan, nice reclining seats, a bar at the theater. They deliver food to your seat. You choose your seat ahead of time. Huge leather recliners. So then MJR started upgrading their theaters the same way.
Yep.
And then even Star or AMC, whatever you want to call it, did the same. So here in Dayton, we went to the Regal Beagle.
Yeah, the Regal Theater.
And tickets, first off, are $12.75, which is not that much more than our tickets, but slightly higher. And
when you see what you get for that money,
it's a regular seat. I mean, granted, it's stadium seating, so that's a plus. But it's those tiny,
those narrow seats that don't recline,
not leather,
and they're just stiff and upright. It's like we were seeing a movie in the 90s.
So they do have showings. What did they call their upgraded tickets?
It was the
RLX
experience.
Yeah, so the RLX experience,
which I believe is one theater,
got you the plush seats, got you the recliners, got you the leather, got you the extra room. Where in Michigan, it's just that's what your seat is. So
and not only that,
an upgrade here. You
have to pay an upgrade to sit in those recliners, and the concessions.
Oh my God!
They had to be like $1.25 to $1.75 more than what we normally pay.
Even more so.
Really,
I walk into my local theater is an MJR theater. I walk in, I buy my ticket. Usually I get a matinee showing. I'm a little cheap, so it's $5-6.
It's called frugal, Bill.
Sure. It's also called it's when Bill can go and see a movie.
Right.
So we buy our tickets. I think the evening show it might be $12, maybe $10. I'm not sure, but I go to buy the same thing. I eat the same thing. I get a number one. It's a large popcorn and a large soda, and it's $10. I bought a medium popcorn and a medium soda yesterday, and it was nearly $15.
I think I paid. I got the pretzel bites, which I enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
and a large soda,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe it was $16.
That's insane. Even for movies. I mean, you already...
No, I'm sorry, because they rounded up to 15, so it was $15.
That's right. We both gave to Make-A-Wish.
We rounded up because they were collecting donations for Make-A-Wish, so
Yes.
we rounded up our purchase.
But, I mean, I don't want to sound like a cheap ass, I guess, but those are some pricey
Well, I mean,
tickets, pricey concessions.
I get it that they make a lot of their money. Majority of their profit is made on the concessions, and that's how they keep the doors open. But there's one thing in making your profit, and there's another thing in gorging the audience, and I think they're a little excessive here.
Yes, I would agree. So that's our frugality rant, I guess, regarding the movies.
Now, we're a couple of old men with kids.
Yeah, if I took my whole family to the movie...
It would cost you an arm and a leg.
Jeez. That argument used to be said for sporting events.
Yeah, not for movie theaters.
Anyways, we went and saw Avengers Endgame yesterday. We had to see it before...
all the spoilers.
Before we went to a friggin' Comic-Con where we figured everyone would be talking about it, but no one was really talking
even mentioned it.
No one asked us our thoughts on it. Usually I get some troll that came out of his mother's basement who wants to talk all day long about these movies and not buy anything.
And he'll usually start off the conversation with a spoiler.
Right.
Yeah.
Not knowing if I saw it or not, but whatever. So we go and see the movie, and I'll let you start, Tony.
Well, I think I had a better view of the film than you did. I
want to preface right now, I'm not saying I disliked the movie. I enjoyed the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
We both enjoyed the movie.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very engaging. I'm big on story. I'm big on keeping me drawn in and not making me feel like I'm sitting watching a movie. I want to be pulled into the whole experience. And I think they did a very good job with their story pacing to keep me engaged up to a point. But as much as I enjoyed the movie and as much as I thought it was a good film, I don't think it lived up to the hype.
No.
People have been ballyhooing this film for months. And the people who saw it in the previews have been on Facebook with their no spoiler posts talking about how great this movie was, everything I needed to see, everything I could wish for. You know what? There were things that left me scratching my head. There were just, little plot holes here and there. There were just some stuff that was just off. And at this point, I expected them to be a little tighter, considering they were wrapping up the whole, first 3 or 4 waves of Marvel movies. I thought they would have had, their whole house in order. But there were a couple of things I was just, I was left going, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I probably will go see it again. Not probably. I'll definitely. I got to bring my kid. But it was not the end-all, be-all of superhero movies.
I think the biggest hurdle they had was Infinity War was pretty much a masterpiece.
That was an amazing film.
So we expected the follow-up to be that much greater, and I think it fell short of that. I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
This is subject matter that I grew up reading about, so I was excited to see it up on the screen. So right away they get points, but it just fell a tiny bit flat. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I'm comparing it to Infinity War, and I'm basing it on all the hype and the insanity that people are having that this is the most amazing thing in the world. I thought this is going to be contradictory, but I thought the first half moved extremely slow. But that being said, when the movie was done, I didn't feel like I sat there for over 3 hours.
Yeah,
so it did keep me engaged.
At no point did I think, "Hey, I've been sitting here for 3 hours. Give me the goods." But
right.
it flowed real well.
There were some great payoff moments, and then there were other moments that are like, really? Let's see. It starts off okay. They kill Thanos like within the second act?
Yeah, the first 20 minutes.
And it was such a lackluster kill, but I think it was meant to be because it left Thor unsatisfied.
I don't think it wasn't lackluster. I mean, it might have felt lackluster, but they're killing a depowered and injured Thanos.
Yes.
So it came easy. You have 4 Avengers jump him, and this is where the spoilers are, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, you have all those powerful Avengers jump, and now injured and weakened Thanos. It came easy to them, the kill.
Is that how you normally say it? Thanos?
Thanos.
It's Thanos.
I don't know. I'm from the East Coast, dude.
Well, I understand that.
That's going to be my go-to excuse for most everything.
Wasn't Starlin a New Yorker?
Yeah.
Okay, then. So Starlin was in the movie, and that was nice. Now,
yeah, nice little cameo.
One of the Russo brothers was in the same scene, so that was kind of neat to see. I liked Stan Lee's cameo in this one a lot.
Yeah, Stan's cameo was a lot of fun.
He's hot rodding with a hot chick in the passenger seat. The license plate says "Enough said," and he just screams out the window. What does he scream again?
He screams out, "Make love, not war, man."
So yeah, if you watch old videos of Stan in the '70s promoting Marvel, I mean, this just brought me right back to
it's how he looked. They gave him the longer hair and the mustache, the fuller mustache, and it was hilarious.
No, I enjoyed that quite a bit. I'm really gonna have to see this movie again because I'm starting to draw blanks.
There's a lot happens. A lot happens. They have to give screen time to a lot of different characters. There's so much going on.
But I thought they did that way too much in the first half and not so much in the second half, especially when everyone started coming back.
Yeah.
They were like such small cameos. I mean, Spider-Man had a small cameo, in my opinion. The Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I didn't even know Groot was back until that one moment he Rocket Raccoon just rolls over into him.
Yeah.
But when they started showing everyone that's popping back after the Iron Man snap, it was so brief and lackluster. I just figured there'd be so much more with it. We got a fat Thor,
which is awesome.
It's my favorite Thor.
It was the Big Lebowski Thor. It was priceless.
It makes me feel good. I can go out and be Thor now.
What was your big fanboy moment?
It's going to be very obvious, but I think it's when Cap got the hammer.
Cap picks up Mjolnir.
Yeah,
and it was awesome. I mean, I let out an audible yeah.
I think the whole theater let out some noise when
it was epic. It really was a great scene, and how they built to it, how they did it. It was really done well. Tip the hat to them for how they did it, how they handled it. They took it a little too far.
I was going to say, that being said,
they took a moment that was super cool, and then they just overplayed it.
So after he picks up the hammer, it pretty much seemed like, okay, now he owns.
Yeah, it's like now he's just carrying it around.
Thor has. Well, I also have an issue with Thor bringing back the hammer from whatever timeline he was in.
Why? I thought that was
perfect. He's left that Thor without a hammer.
Yeah, but they when they go back and they put the gems back,
well, I'm sure he'll get his hammer. But what's he doing in the
corrects
meantime?
everything.
Well, I guess the way they were explaining quantum,
Yeah,
it would be instant. So, okay. I've gotten over that. I will say, I don't know that Mr. Steve Rogers should have been able to harness lightning with Mjolnir.
that I thought was a little much.
Yes.
You know, it's one thing to be able to lift the hammer. It's another thing to be able to wield it as Thor would wield it.
Correct.
Because he's not the god of thunder.
Yes.
He has no control over the elements.
The whole point of Ragnarok was the power is within Thor, not the hammer.
Right.
And now all of a sudden he picks up the hammer and he's shooting off lightning left and right. And then again, he held on to that hammer like it was his hammer. He even went back in time and took the hammer with him afterwards. So we can only hope that it was given back.
Yeah, he brings the hammer back in time and then returns without it, but has the shield.
Okay, we're all over the place.
Yeah, we are all over the place.
We should probably explain that the plot.
There's a lot of time travel in this movie.
Yes. So the plot is the first plot is to go kill Thanos, get the stones, and wish everyone back. Well, they go. Thanos destroyed the stones. So Thanos is limping around in his garden. He's half of his body is burnt. And he's weakened from destroying the stones. He used the stones to destroy the stones. So now there needs to be a new plot. Who shows up? Ant-Man. Ant-Man shows up with the time-traveling van. So the new plot is let's go back in... No, let's go to another dimension. No, let's go back in time.
They're going to go back in time by going to the... what was the universe he was in? What do you call it? Quantumverse.
Realm.
Quantum realm. That's it.
So he goes. So they're going to go back and they're going to use the quantum realm to go back in time, pluck these stones. They figure out, where the stones are, when they are. They go back and get them, and now they have it to use to wish everyone back. But in doing all of this, Thanos catches wind of what's going on, and past Thanos uses the quantum realm to travel into the future to get this newly gathered group of stones to accomplish what he wants. And now it's been upgraded. Now he's seen that what he did by eliminating half of the population wasn't enough, because
it made them more resilient.
Correct. And he also sees his head getting cut off, so I think part of that bugged him too. So the new plan is to get rid of all existence and rebuild the universe as he sees fit. He's using the ignorance is bliss tactic, where there is no former race of beings to educate the new race of beings that this is what he did, that there was bloodshed and all this other stuff. So there wouldn't be an attempt to fix a wrong, because they wouldn't know that a wrong happened.
They wouldn't know a wrong was committed.
Yeah. So that's the movie in a nutshell. Do you think that Captain Marvel is overpowered in the movie?
I think...
Or in the Marvel universe?
By overpowered, do you mean has too much power?
Yes.
No, because, everything was like... She was going to beat Thanos, and she didn't.
Thanos.
Thanos? Okay. She was supposed to beat Thanos. That was the deal. That was what they were building towards, and she doesn't beat him.
But in the book, she's not like that.
No, in the book, she's not.
She's not that powerful.
But you can't... At this point, we can't even compare. It's apples and oranges.
I know. But it still bugs me. And I think she can overpower and beat regular Thanos, but not Thanos with the glove.
No. But I think she's like a team of Avengers all by herself.
Yeah. Well, that's what they've made her out to be.
Right. And because she's going around and kind of like policing the whole galaxy. But they made it seem as if she was going to be the one to come in and save the day. And it was all going to rest on her shoulders.
It kind of happened.
No.
She came in on the very last second.
She came in. She carried the glove for a little while.
She took a headbutt like it was nothing.
But that's, at the end of the day, it was a mere mortal who beat Thanos.
Yeah. There were some, yeah.
Iron Man beats Thanos.
So Thanos gets a hold of this new glove. And right at that moment, everyone's fighting to get the glove off him. Thor, Captain Marvel, all our heavy hitters are there, and they're falling short. Iron Man looks over to Doctor Strange in a moment of despair, and Doctor Strange kind of tips his hat, saying, hey, this is all happening the way it should be happening according to his 1 in 14 million shot.
Right.
So that gives Tony Stark motivation
to do whatever he had planned to keep moving forward, to beat Thanos.
Right. So he grabs the glove, and Thanos wrestles his arm back with the glove. So Thanos thinks he's fine, and he goes to snap, and nothing happens. Well, he wasn't going for the actual glove. He was just getting the stones off of that glove and incorporating it into his armor. Because his new armor, can pretty much morph and do anything. And then he is the one who snaps, and he gets rid of Thanos and his entire army, which I liked a lot. That Thanos came down without the glove this time, so it wasn't just him in a glove. The whole army was there. His
everything, all the creatures you saw from the first Avengers movie that were flying through the air like snakes, and you had all the foot soldiers. You even had some new designs for some of the foot soldiers. These big things that look like giant apes, and it was a full blown army. They
reminded me of like the cave troll in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
but I thought that was really cool. So we also got to see Professor Hulk in this movie,
which was cool.
Was really cool. For me, that's my favorite Hulk, is Professor Hulk. And I missed it. Tony said that at a moment, or when they were talking to him at first, he mentions that he spent some time in Vegas.
He spent 18 months in Vegas.
So that was a nod to the Mr. Fix-It Hulk, which is my second favorite Hulk. I think he could have been a little more Mr. Fix-It-y. I think he could have had a little more attitude.
If you read the comics back in the early 90s when Banner's consciousness was merged with Hulk's body, he was a lot more calculating. He wasn't zany. He wasn't comical. He was a very matter-of-fact scientist type of guy, but with an edge, with that badassness about him.
There was always still that fear that he would get too angry.
Yeah,
he had anger issues.
He was one of the smartest men on the planet who you still didn't want to make angry.
Yeah, so Professor Hulk in Endgame is basically Bruce Banner in Hulk's body.
Yeah, I think he's a little more carefree.
Yeah. And he was comical at moments.
Yeah.
A little too comical.
It was the comic relief of the film.
Speaking of which, I thought a lot of the dialogue for Rocket Raccoon fell flat.
You know why? I think excuse me. I think the job of Rocket's character in Guardians of the Galaxy was taken by the Hulk in this movie, where the whimsical dialogue and things like that Hulk was delivering instead of Rocket. So Rocket was more of a curmudgeon than his, the way he would kind of poke the bear all the time.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. And that might have been a conscious decision, considering Rocket lost everything. And at the end of the day, what did Banner really lose?
No, Banner really didn't lose anything.
He lost something in this movie.
Well, yeah, in this movie, but not before this.
So in this movie, we have some deaths. And the first death happens when Hawkeye and the Black Widow go back in time to get the Soul Stone. And as we know from Infinity War, a soul for a soul is how you get that stone. So there was this nice scene at the top of that cliff where Hawkeye and Black Widow kind of went at it. Both of them wanted to sacrifice themselves, and both of them wanted to stop the other from doing so. But ultimately, it was Black Widow who won the fight and got to sacrifice herself for
that was a very moving scene too.
Yeah,
it was very well done.
But at the end of the day, even that's the way it should have been. Hawkeye's doing all this to bring back his family. What's the point of bringing them back if he's not there for them?
Well, but the thing is he doesn't. He lost his family, and that's why he went and was doing what he did. He turns into Ronin.
Yes.
And he's just killing criminals left and right in mass amounts.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though, he was at a point where he felt he lost them and he wasn't going to get them back. I don't think he thought this was going to work.
He lost hope.
That's why he volunteered to be the test subject for the time travel, and he didn't care anymore. Mm-hmm. And it made more sense in a practical sense that he would be the one to sacrifice himself.
I guess.
That's what made that scene work, I think, because you figured it had to be him. You figured it's going to be Hawkeye is going to sacrifice himself to, get the Soul Stone so they can try to correct the snap.
Right.
But Black Widow, she had every confidence that this was going to work, and she wanted him to be there for his family when they came back.
Yes.
And she was prepared for this for 5 years, so it was a great scene. It really was a great scene.
Yeah. So Hulk loses the Black Widow because obviously there was some type of sexual tension there. I don't know exactly what it is, but she can, lull the giant, so to speak. So that was his only loss, really, in this. I mean, other than, everyone else's friends and family. One person that didn't come back, and I used the word person loosely here,
is the Vision.
Yeah, well, that's because the Vision was killed before the snap. He killed the Vision to get the stone.
But still, why not use the stones to still bring them back? Who says that you could only bring back the people who were affected by the stones?
I don't understand why they couldn't bring everybody back.
And really, isn't there a backup file somewhere with Vision's consciousness on it?
There should be. I mean, he's just a program, really.
So they did have a touching moment.
You know what's something they didn't address, though? What the hell happens to the stones? Well, no, they go and they return them, yeah. But why? I mean, they still had them. Why didn't they try to bring those people back to life? Why didn't they bring back Tony and Natasha
But at what point do you just? Why not bring back everyone? Why not go back in time and stop Hitler?
Well, I mean, I get it, but in the battle to save the world,
mm-hmm.
Why not bring back the key players that sacrifice themselves?
Because their contract's up and they don't want to play those parts anymore. Second death is what's her face? Well, one of them. I'm drawing a blank here. Gamora's sister, Nebula. So Nebula was key into bringing Thanos up to speed of what the plan was with all this time travel.
There was some kind of link between the past Nebula and the future Nebula.
They were connected basically through the same Wi-Fi.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much how it worked.
So the Nebula in the past started glitching and receiving future Nebula who went back to the past. This is talking about time travel is confusing no matter what, but I'm doing a poor job of trying to explain this.
Go see the movie, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be happier.
So one of the nebulas dies. Who else dies?
Well, you know,
Is it just straight to Tony?
the old Gamora dies too. I would assume.
Well, yeah, she doesn't come back for the same reason that Vision doesn't come back. It's
Yeah.
because before the snap.
But I think that that Gamora with the second snap, the Tony snap, she disappears with all of Thanos' crew.
No, she
You don't
didn't.
think so?
No, she left with Nebula, I think. Because remember, there was that point afterwards, like, where she meets Peter Quill.
Yeah, and she kicks him in the nuts.
Yeah, she goes, "This is the guy." No, this is the guy. And Nebula makes a joke that it was either that or the tree.
Right.
And then later on, or is it the same scene where he tries to touch her?
That's it. He tries to touch her
Okay.
and she kicks his ass.
Yeah.
And then that's the last time you see her.
No. That happened before the dialogue, because Nebula, I think he was lying in the ground in pain when Nebula's telling him, yeah, it was him or the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the last time you see Nebula. I mean, the last time you see Gamora is after she kicks Peter Quill's butt there.
So there was some, So then obviously Tony dies at the end as well. He can't, his body can't handle the power of what he had just done. So just like Thanos at the beginning, half of his body was all burnt up. Oh, not to mention the Hulk snap.
The Hulk is the
He's
snap,
the first snap
that brings everybody back, and then Tony's snap is the snap that gets rid of all of Thanos' people.
So when they initially get all the stones, Tony makes the glove out of his armor, and they're sitting there deciding who's going to make the snap to bring everyone back. And everyone starts saying, "Me, I'll do it," knowing that there's a huge risk because they just saw what Thanos was like after using it. Professor Hulk steps up and pretty much says, "Well, it's radiation. It's got to be gamma radiation. I was made for this." So he takes it upon himself to do the snap. And the same thing happens to him, which is why the Hulk was kind of decommissioned during the fight.
Yeah, pretty much, because he was one-armed.
Yeah. Man, we're all over.
There's a lot happens in this movie.
It's almost 3.5 hours, guys, so excuse us for trying
so
to...
much.
And you know what? They could have had a friggin' intermission because there were definite acts in this movie.
Yes.
There were some things we didn't like about the movie. And not so much, and these aren't deal breakers. But
It's not, we didn't have any criticisms that were like, well, screw this, I never want to see this movie again. It was just stuff that just, I guess as fans or as people or just rubbed us the wrong way. Just,
So when the cavalry comes in, because the cavalry comes in, the Wakandans come, Black Panther, all the people that were wished back show up. All of when Doctor Strange took over as Sorcerer Supreme, and he was hanging out in New York, a lot of people wondered what happened back in, where was it?
What, the Sanctum Sanctorum?
Yeah, but they were in some country, some hidden country or whatever. All those other magicians.
Wakanda? Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
all those other sorcerers showed up and helped with the fight. And Pepper Potts shows up in an Iron Man suit,
in armor, and that just was. I see this female Iron Man, and I'm like, who the hell is this? Even when they showed her face, I couldn't tell it was Gwyneth Paltrow. Because it was, I don't know, it was quick or whatever. I'm like, who is this?
So I'm going to let everyone in on a little secret. I don't read comics anymore.
Well,
I haven't read comics since probably 2010.
I, for the most part, well, no, I don't read Marvel or DC anymore. I do read indies.
Yeah, I'll still read The Walking Dead or Hellboy and stuff like that.
Marvel and DC, we
So we didn't know that
For a
Gwyneth
while.
Paltrow actually was an Iron Man character. I
But
think
that
her
had
name
to be
was Rescue
within
in
the
book,
last
by the way.
10 years. What's that?
Rescue was her name in the book.
Rescue?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Anyway, but if you're Tony Stark and you're so worried about your family through this whole
Right,
thing,
I would never.
why is he going to let his wife join this fight?
Let's say I'm hunkered down at home and I'm fighting off a bunch of baddies. Who knows what's going on? I've got guns and I'm protecting my family. I'm not going to toss a gun to my wife and say, come join the fight, back me up or whatever. I'm going to make sure she's
Protecting the kids.
right. Her and the kids are off.
If she has a suit and she knows how to use it, in a time like that, don't you want her protecting your daughter?
Absolutely.
So, the fact that she's off here at this fight, and that Tony and Pepper have a kid, they have a daughter,
Mhm.
so the daughter is home by herself at this point, because they live on this little country house by a lake by themselves. There's no neighbors, there's no nothing. And so this kid's got to be by herself while mom and dad are fighting one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. How stupid is that? Oh, Jesus Christ! I mean, as a parent, it's offensive.
I'm watching his sound waves on the program that we're using to record. And it's just off the charts. But she's with Patches. What's his name? Favreau's character in this?
Oh, I know, he's got a weird name. Why can't I remember his name?
Oh, well, you know what? We've got a thing
We got a
up
Google
here
machine.
called a computer.
Let's put it in the Google machine.
Let's go to IMDb. Happy, that's it.
That's his name.
There's
Patches.
sirens outside right now.
God only knows what it is in this neighborhood.
Last night, I don't know if there were hookers or what, but there were people knocking on the door.
Banging on doors, and there were people in the parking lot carrying on. And this is like at 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
You know, we're in a part of Dayton where one side of the street looks completely run down and scary, but the other side of the street looks really nice, really
Like
high
big time swanky.
Yeah, it's like this
very
town
odd.
can't make up its mind on what it wants to be. So the area we're in, we're right across from a high school. So I'm shocked.
College. It's college.
I think it's a high school.
No, I think it's Wright State University.
I think this person's wrong. Don't listen to this person.
Okay, don't listen to me.
So I'm shocked that it's this bad, but I don't know. Where were we? We
Happy.
Happy. So yeah, Happy was protecting.
I guess Happy was, but Happy
Morgan.
doesn't have armor.
Happy's useless.
He's not useless. I mean, he's a guy that can get you stuff.
He's an assistant.
Yeah.
That's all.
But like if you need like hookers or blow at 3 o'clock in the morning, Happy's the guy that can do that stuff.
Happy is the guy. We need a Happy.
We do need a Happy,
Not that we want hookers and blow.
but we need a guy
This
that
is
can
a family
get
show.
stuff. We want a guy that can get stuff.
Yeah.
So we're taking applications. Submit your applications to 2 Cynical A-holes on Facebook.
So yeah, you have her in armor. That rubbed us the wrong way. And then there's a moment where Thanos is starting to gain the upper hand in this fight, and all of a sudden,
Well, they're trying to keep the glove from Thanos.
yes,
And the glove went to...
that was a nod to the comic. You know, in the Infinity War, the glove got off of him, and then this person had it, and that person had it. It was kind of like hot potato keep
Right.
away.
So Hawkeye has it, and then Black Panther gets it, and then Spider-Man gets it, and then Captain Marvel gets it.
Right. So, but there's this moment, and granted, there's this huge battlefield, and there's monsters all over the place.
Thousands. Tens of thousands.
You have Thanos, and you have Thanos's, what's his little group called?
I can't remember. But all those little
All these
henchmen.
baddies all over the place. But at some point, every woman on the field decided to get together and make a feminine stand.
What it is Captain Marvel gets the glove, and somebody says something about her being able to keep it from Thanos, and Michonne from Walking Dead, whoever she is on Black Panther, she says she's got backup, and all of a sudden, all the female heroes in the Marvel universe are there.
We're gonna come off really sexist here,
and it's not a point of being sexist. It's a point of there's this giant battle going on. There are hundreds of superheroes there, but all of the women suddenly came together in this like 10 by 10 spot to back each other up. It was just silly. It was out of place. I mean, 10 seconds ago, they're all over the place fighting, and now they're all here in this one spot to make this giant feminist statement when it could have been, any 8 heroes. It was forced, is what it was. It was a forced scene to make a statement, and it was silly.
Here's the thing. Listen, I'm not sexist.
I'm not sexist either.
I grew up in a house full of women. I live now.
I have a mother
in a house with women. I have a wife and I have 3 daughters. I'm all about the woman movement. Anything that puts my children ahead, anything that gets my wife more respect, my mother, my sister.
Anything that's going to make your daughters say,
I love it.
I can do that.
Absolutely. I love it. But what this seemed like in the movie, like you said, it was forced. And when it's forced like that, it seemed disingenuous.
And it takes you out of the moment.
It seemed like a marketing ploy. It seemed like, hey, this is the climate in today's society. Let's pay it off. And again, forced and disingenuous. They were doing it for the wrong reasons.
He's saying it a lot more eloquently than I said it. I'm much more excitable.
So
it was just silly. It was silly.
Just having all those women on the field is good enough.
Right.
And not even good enough is inspiring. But when you had them all like bunch up like that, it was gratuitous, and it didn't seem genuine to me.
It just, like I said, the whole movie was great. Pacing was awesome, and you're wrapped up in that universe until that moment. That moment, as nice as it may be for the feminist movement or whatever, it was forced, and it takes you out of the whole battle because it was just silly. It was silly.
So yeah, that happened. So then Thanos gets the glove. They try to wrestle the glove off of him. Tony got the stones, did what he did. Tony passes away, and it's a tough scene. And I remember sitting there going, I don't want him to die. I'm not ready for a Robert Downey-less universe for Marvel. I'm not ready for that.
When you look at all the Marvel characters and the actors that play them, is there anybody who was more perfect than Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark?
No.
I mean, it was like he was born to play that part.
He was Tony Stark.
It was, and then him and Spider-Man have another moment together.
Yes,
which
Spidey comes back. He's happy about it, but as he's dying, and it's funny, like Gwyneth Paltrow had to pull Peter Parker off of him
so she can go and get in and say goodbye.
But it was a touching moment, and I gotta tell you, they immediately roll into his funeral, and there's all kinds of superheroes there at the funeral, and Pepper and the daughter. We see Nick Fury at the funeral, so he's back. But I got choked up during the Happy and Morgan scene. Morgan's his daughter. She's, 5 years old, maybe?
Yeah.
If that. And I'm getting choked up now. He asks her, are you hungry? What do you want to eat? And she's like, cheeseburgers. And all he says was, kid, I'll get you all the cheeseburgers.
Well, first he says, your dad liked cheeseburgers too.
Yeah.
I'll get you all the cheeseburgers you want.
And I got choked up. I got emotional.
I got emotional when he was they have a scene right before the little funeral thing where like his little inner circle is watching a video he made where he's kind of saying goodbye to the family. And he's saying goodbye to his daughter, and he says, I love you 3000.
Right.
Which was something that the daughter had said to him earlier in the movie. And as a father who as a father who has openly expressed, I will do anything, and I mean anything, for the betterment of my child.
And to think, even
it was touching, and that's what it gets you. You get that lump in your throat, and you're like, oh God, man,
the thought of just the pain he would cause for dying.
Yeah, And the thing is it's we're all going to die. We know we're all going to die, but to know that you may have to sacrifice yourself for the better good. I don't mean to get on a soapbox here, but every soldier that goes into combat that has a family knows that there's a chance that they're never going to come home again. They go on foreign soil to do the job that they're sent out to do. They might never see their kids again. They might never see their wife again. And it's courageous, it's noble, and it's heartbreaking.
Is it selfish?
I don't know. It's not. It's selfless.
Because they foreshadow his death early in the movie when he figures out time travel, how to do it safely. And there's that. He's struggling with the decision. He wants to.
Well, he's struggling because he doesn't want to lose his daughter.
Well,
that's why he's struggling, because he doesn't want them.
It's still loss.
But the thing is he doesn't want them to snap and reset everything.
Right.
He wants them to come back, but he wants everything to stay the same. He doesn't want the universe to be reset because he doesn't want to lose his daughter.
But if he left things as is, then he would still be there for his daughter.
Yeah. But that wasn't what the greater good. That wasn't the service of the greater good. The service of the greater good was to right this wrong.
Yes.
That's what made it such a hard decision, and why he was such a tragic figure in this story. I mean, it was Shakespearean.
It was done well.
I mean, the fact that Tony Stark dies in all of this makes it that much more heart-wrenching that, he was against fixing it, and then he set out to do the right thing, and he's the one that lost.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest reasons why I like this movie, because they took the biggest hero in the film and killed him.
Well, they had to. Again, his contract was up and he was done. You don't think they would have kept him on as long as he was willing to play the role?
They gave everybody else a raise to keep him on.
You mean a pay cut?
No, they gave everybody else a raise. When his contract was up last time, he wasn't going to re-sign, but he wanted everybody else to get more money, and then he re-upped.
Gotcha. So, the final thing that happens in the movie is Cap. Cap decides to take all the stones back. They need to be replaced at the exact moment that they were taken, so that way there's no alternate realities.
To correct their time streams,
right?
Whatever, their timelines.
So again, he gets on the little platform, goes back. He has the hammer. He has the stones.
And that's the thing. It's at this point, why does he have the hammer? He doesn't need the hammer unless he was bringing it back to that timeline.
That's what we're gonna go with.
Okay, let's go with that. He's bringing it back to that timeline.
So he goes, and within 5 seconds, they should be able to bring him back, and he should have accomplished everything within that time frame. 5 seconds goes, he doesn't come back. They do it again, he doesn't come back, and then Bucky notices off in the distance that there's an old man sitting on a bench by the lake. So Bucky and
Well, Bucky sends Falcon.
Yeah, that's it.
There.
Oh, yeah,
I think Bucky knew. I think Bucky knew that Steve was going to do this.
So Falcon walks over. You have this great CGI'd Tony or Christopher Evans, Steve Rogers, old man, and you just knew, he went back in time and he lived life. He went back for Agent Carter, and he didn't talk about it, so we don't know for sure that it was Agent Carter. But they played Agent Carter throughout the movie. They showed him with his little pocket watch, and almost bumping into Agent Carter during one of the flashbacks or one of the trips back in time. So he lived life. He lived a happy life, because the whole time, whenever you watched any of the Captain America movies, it was always him being displaced. And so it was a beautiful moment. You knew he got the life he deserved. And then he pulls out the shield and he bequeaths it to Falcon. And basically, I believe Falcon's going to be our new Captain America
moving forward.
So I have a question regarding that.
Okay.
But also remind me, I want to talk about the CGI.
Okay. I don't think it was entirely CGI.
The old man prosthetic?
I think it was prosthetics. I don't think it was CGI.
Okay, I want to talk about the CGI regarding Tony later on.
Okay.
Do you think that there's going to be a new Captain America movie featuring Falcon as Captain America? Or do you think he will just be Captain America in future Marvel movies?
I think he will be Captain America in future Marvel movies.
So he won't garner his own movie?
No.
Okay. I thought,
and I think that same. Because there's really no other Captain America. I mean, they've done story arcs where somebody else has been Captain America, but it hasn't lasted more than 8, 12 issues.
Right.
So it's not something that people widely know. And until they get the movie audience used to seeing somebody else as Captain America, they're not going to do that. And that's going to take years.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be...
I agree.
He'll be Captain America in a future Avengers movie, in another Hulk movie, Thor movie, whatever. But until people can say, okay, Falcon is now Captain America, there won't be a Captain America movie.
Okay, so the movie opens up, and we've seen the previews. Opens up with Tony Stark in space.
Right.
One thing I didn't pick up in the preview that was striking to me in the movie is how emaciated he was.
Yeah.
He was extremely skinny. He was very gaunt. Do you think that was CGI,
yes.
Or do you think he...
No, I think... I don't... You know what? It's hard to say. I mean, maybe
because
he
if
did.
It's CGI, it was flawless. I was looking for a chink in that armor, and I could not
you look at what they did in Captain America: The First Avenger. How they made Chris Evans look so just small and emaciated.
But it still didn't look 100% real.
Well, that's why I think it was CGI, because Robert Downey Jr. is not young.
Correct.
And for him to
lose that
weight probably wouldn't have been the healthiest option for him.
But it looked 100% real.
It looked fantastic.
I would love to know. So I can't wait to get the DVD with all the commentary and find out for sure. But it looked amazing. If it was CGI, zero.
If it was CGI, it was flawless. And I think it was CGI. I really think it was CGI.
Then it needs to win an Oscar for
when you look at
effects.
The scenes, it's dark. It was a lot easier to do than it was for Cap.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure it was CGI. But I'd hate to think they put a guy who's like, what is he? At least 55, 56.
But even when they had a young Tony Stark in a Winter Soldier, it still didn't. You still saw that it was CGI.
Yeah, well, that was easier.
So for them to make that leap to this, kudos.
Yeah, you can do anything with a computer nowadays.
Is there anything we missed about the movie?
Yes, that you made a very good point about...
I do that often.
Spider-Man coming back and going back to high school.
Oh, yes. But I think okay, so there's this moment, when this takes place, there's supposed to be a 5-year gap happening. So when Ant-Man came back, his little girl was now a teenager, as tall as he is. Spider-Man comes back, Peter Parker comes back, and he goes to high school, and we see him with his chubby friend, who's exactly the same age as when we left him. So I thought, how could that be? How come he's not 5 years older?
So I said, well, he probably got, disappeared in the snap also.
He was one of the snap victims.
So, which means, like, all of Peter Parker's classmates had to have disappeared in the snap.
Not all, but...
Well, because they were all
At
going to
least-
be in the next Spider-Man movie.
All the main characters, I guess so. Yeah.
So his class disappeared in the snap.
Okay. I say at least the chubby friend. I don't know his name.
And probably Mary Jane.
Yeah, I would say those two, so that way they can be the same age. And then maybe
Flash Thompson.
I don't know. Aunt May didn't seem older, but it's Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, she doesn't age.
No, she's great.
I love Marissa Tomei.
So the movie was great.
Yes.
Not
I give it 2 thumbs up, but it's not the end-all, beat-all of superhero movies.
Here's what I'm going to do. Ready? I'm going to rank the Avengers movies.
Oh, here we go.
Number 1, Infinity War. It's a masterpiece. Number 2, Avengers. Because it was the first time you saw them on a screen, a team movie that worked so well. So Avengers. Number 3, Endgame. And number 4, Avengers 2. Age of Ultron.
Well, there's only 3 Avengers movies.
There's 4. What are you talking about?
No. One of them was a Captain America movie.
Sir, you're embarrassing yourself.
Name them.
Avengers.
Yeah.
Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. Avengers Infinity War. Avengers
that's right.
Endgame.
That's right. I am embarrassing myself.
Man, oh man.
Wow. I'm ashamed.
You should be.
I
You
am.
absolutely should be.
I am.
So that's my ranking. And it's definitive and it's what you should follow as well.
There's no point in me even speaking on the subject.
I mean, you can embarrass yourself again.
I guess I could, but I won't.
Does your list differ?
I think Infinity War was probably the best. I would say the first Avengers, then Age of Ultron, then Endgame.
You liked Age of Ultron more than Endgame.
I'm sorry, Endgame and then Age of Ultron.
Okay, exact same list. You're welcome.
I'm sorry.
Jeez. Okay.
So we spoke for an hour on this movie. We
Well,
spoiled the hell out of it.
That's nothing when the movie's 3.5 hours long.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, how did we just came out of the theater?
Hopefully, if you're listening
we've
to
seen
this
it 3 more times.
or watching this, you've seen the movie and you just want to get someone else's
opinion,
viewpoint, agree with us, disagree,
or just reaffirm how you feel.
And if you haven't seen the movie and we've just ruined it all for you, well,
that's on you.
Yeah,
because we told you at the beginning.
But
that
still,
there could be spoilers because we're a-holes.
Who would choose to see the movie over listening to us?
I'd rather listen to us, really.
Huh?
I'd rather listen to us.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now you don't have to see the movie. You got it all. You're all set. I'll draw you a picture next time.
Great movie, just not as good as Infinity War.
Yeah.
I think we should address the elephant in the room.
I told you I've been losing weight.
Apparently, we're the only two people that enjoyed the Hellboy movie.
You know what? I'm fine with that. I liked that movie. I thought it was a good movie. I'm looking forward to going to see it again.
Guys, the movie was good, especially if you read the comics.
If you're a comic fan, there's no reason why you wouldn't like the Hellboy movie. The Hellboy movie is it's probably one of the more truer films to the comic. It draws elements right out of the books. You couldn't have asked for anything more in a Hellboy movie.
So I'll explain the disparity between the two. The fact that people didn't like this movie and the fact that we liked it. I read the comments, I've read the review, or watched or listened to the reviews, and the issues that were had were the plot points were rushed. There were no moments of real character development, I suppose. And to the average person who just watches the movie, I can see that. So I get it. I do. But I've read all the books. Tony's read all the books. Yeah. And if you're a reader of the books, then when you're watching this, all the information that I suppose is missing, your mind just fills in the gap. You know what's going on. You know what's happening. And that information is already there, so you don't notice.
You don't notice the gaps.
Right.
I also think that as anybody who is a comic book movie fan, having seen the first two Hellboy movies,
which were good,
there are things that were set up in those movies that you should have in your head. And when you see this new movie, it's like they didn't have to retell the origin in depth in this movie. They kind of took for granted that you knew it. And I wish more movies would do that.
They caught on faster than the Spider-Man franchise.
Yeah, it's like, why do we need an origin story every time you reboot?
People know
get it.
How Batman became Batman. People know how Spider-Man became Spider-Man. Let's just get into the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this movie did.
This movie was about getting into the fun stuff. And it was fun. It was a great, great ride.
So we stand behind our review.
And if you don't like it, we don't care.
Exactly.
We'll fight you.
We'll fight you only if you want to fight. We don't,
Yeah, no, we're not going to attack you. But,
Yeah. Unless you pay us to.
Yeah, you want to fight for charity, that'd be great.
So, we're in Dayton. We're doing a convention. It's the Gem City Comic Con. It's a great show. They have us out all the time. They have us out when we don't even know we're doing the show.
That's true.
Last year, I personally took a year off of doing comic book conventions. I still did illustration work at home, but I wanted to spend more time with the family, get outdoors a little bit more, and pursue other projects. But I'm back. So last year I didn't do Gem City Comic Con, and this year I had no intention of doing Gem City Comic Con until they announced me as a guest. And then I looked at the website, and lo and behold, Tony is also a guest.
Yeah, so here we are.
So we decided to do the show, and it's always a good time. I like Dayton.
I like the show's promoters. They're good people.
Yeah, real good people. So I had a bit of a mishap today, and you know what it is.
Do I?
Yeah, I kicked the guy when he was down.
That was awesome.
Or I peed in his Cheerios.
You shit in his cereal is what you did.
So
I don't know. This we might need to start a new show.
comic.
A new episode.
Artist Alley etiquette.
We want to cover this in this episode, or
we can break this down however we want.
Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's go for it.
Okay. I want to talk about it while it's fresh.
Con etiquette.
Because I feel bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are people who table at comic book conventions as artist or writer, if you're an
As
artist
a
alley,
guest,
especially if you're an artist alley, but if you're a guest or an exhibitor, there's certain unwritten rules that you should follow, and those rules
actually
are
half of these unwritten rules are written, but no one follows them.
Well,
and no one enforces.
It's just called con etiquette, and it's not enforced by anybody. If you did take the time to read through all the fine print on a convention application, a lot of this stuff is spelled out. But con etiquette dictates certain behavior by people, especially people in Artist Alley.
Okay, so we can have this segment all the time. We don't have to talk about all of etiquette, but we can.
We can touch on some, and
So I think this is a good time to introduce them to Roger.
Okay, yes, we will talk about Roger today, and we're gonna introduce you to Roger, and you're gonna learn a little something about con etiquette.
So there are going to be times where we need to tell you a story, and to be nice,
yes,
we're going to not give you the names of these actual people, and we're going to refer to them as Roger.
Roger is going to be a catch-all
to protect their identity.
Yes, for
most of them, they don't deserve that courtesy, but we're going to give that courtesy.
Yes, because we may be a-holes, but we're not dicks.
So, anyways, I show up to my table today. We dropped off our stuff yesterday, so we were all set and ready to
set up today.
Yeah, set up our spots. We get there, and my table is covered with junk. There's posters, there's bags. The person left their cell phone there, so I moved this all over to the next table so I can continue to set up my table. And then all of a sudden, Roger from across the way, Roger sitting right across from me, comes over and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I left all my stuff on your table." Roger saw me move all his stuff. I watched him watch me move all his stuff. So it took him time to come over and claim his stuff.
It wasn't right away. It was like 20 minutes later.
And so he comes over and he apologizes and he takes all his stuff. And I'm sure he's heard me complain about all the stuff that was on my table beforehand. Fine. I'm not going to make a big stink over that. I let it go. That's not even... That's just...
That was small potatoes.
That was the introduction of Roger.
Yeah.
So Roger
was busy today.
And after he gathers all this stuff, he decides to come back and talk to me. And he comes over and he says, "Bill, you know what? I'm a huge fan of yours. I believe last year," which again, I didn't do the show last year, but he could be talking about another year that I did do the show. I believe I got your Harley Quinn print. I love your artwork. It shows up on Imager constantly, and I have
What's Imager?
It's a picture collection site. Kind of like Tumblr or not Tumblr. Someplace where you can store photos. So like Photo Bucket.
Okay.
I think. And he tells me how he sets his backdrop on his computer to my artwork and all this stuff. At this point, I think he's just blowing smoke up my ass. Because although he did look familiar, I don't remember him. And he wasn't quite sure on which Harley Quinn print he got of mine, and I only have one. So I don't know how genuine he was. So he goes back to his table, and I look at Tony, and me being a cynical a-hole, I took the cynical approach. I go, that guy just said all that stuff so he can act the way he wants to and not worry.
Try to smooth things over.
Right.
Yeah.
So he does what we call carnival barking.
Yes.
So if you go to the carnival, there's, come here, let me guess your weight.
Step right up. We got the fattest chicken in the world back here. Just 5 bits.
So Artist Alley in every comic book convention is turning into a sideshow. It's turning into a flea market, and it's kind of annoying.
It's disheartening is what it is.
It is. It is. I mean, we do this for a living, so to sit there and, some girls...
Have people cheapen what we do by selling store-bought pillows or whatever is sickening, truly.
Yeah, so we don't like it.
I hate it. It's not dislike. I hate it.
So, I don't know how we got onto that so quickly, but he's carnival barking. He's not making pillows. He's actually a writer, so he's writing original fiction. And he has a spiel, and he's calling people over. They're walking by. He's like, hey, do you like sci-fi? Hey, do you want to know what your spirit animal is? Hey, can I do this? Hey, can I do that? So then they come over, and he has some questionnaire that he starts rambling off through, and he's loud. And I got to hear it all day long. It's annoying, but again, I'm not going to do anything about it.
He has every right to do that.
Yes.
Even though it is frowned upon.
Yes. So, what he did end up doing to set me off was he started to call people away from my table. So, the first instance...
Which is a giant no-no.
Huge.
You don't call people from other people's tables.
Guests, exhibitors, artists who paid for their tables, it doesn't matter. Everyone's there to make money. I love being a guest at a show and I love signing things, but at the end of the day, I also need to sell some stuff. So, the first time it happened, I was standing up kind of away from my table, but I was right next to my table. I was talking to Tony.
Yeah,
we were talking to our buddy Dirk. And I see him, and he calls people over. And these people are flipping through my portfolio, and he calls them over, and he does a spiel. And I let that one slide because I wasn't technically at my table, but still a very douchey thing to do. So that happened. I let it slide. The second time, I'm sitting there, and the person reaches for my portfolio, and he starts to flip, and he calls them over. And he goes into a spiel. And now I'm a little hot. And I don't like to think of myself as confrontational, but I do like to educate people when they're doing something wrong.
Or stupid.
So, I don't think this person is being intentional. I just think he's unaware. So, I let him do his business with essentially my potential customers. And, I ended up getting customers. He ended up getting customers. So I couldn't call him out on that instance at that time. I called him over later on. I said, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you didn't call people away from my table. If you waited till after they're done looking at my wares and then did your whole pitch to them, that's completely fine. But please don't do it while they're at my table. If their backs are to you and they're looking through my stuff, please don't call them over. And his face, instant droop, instant sad panda face. I mean, he was...
You would have thought Bill just stepped on his puppy.
And then he walks back to his table, and he walks past his neighbor, and I hear him audibly say, my favorite artist just told me I'm stealing his customers. So now I'm thinking he was being on the level with me that I am indeed his favorite artist. And he goes...
Poor bastard.
And he goes and he sits down and he's not making eye contact with the crowd anymore. He's not talking. He's not calling anybody over to his table. And I noticed this right away. And immediately I go, son of a bitch. I feel extremely bad to make him feel this way, but I'm also angry that now I feel bad for him when he's the one who did something wrong. So I get up from my table and I go over and I said, listen, please, I'm sorry if that came off harsh, but it's not something you do. And he looks up at me, so sad, so dejected, and he goes, Bill, This is my first Comic-Con. Everyone keeps asking me if I'm having a good show. And I tell them that I'm having the best show. I'm set up right across from my favorite artist. This is what he says to me.
I'm sorry to laugh, but I'm an a-hole, and this is funny to me.
How do I have any fans when I do this to them? I've got like 4, and I've gotten rid of one now.
You know what?
So I explained
tomorrow. You give him a print, he's gonna love you.
You know what? That's exactly what I was thinking as I was sitting there today. So I went up to him and I told him, I'm like, listen, you still need to make sales. I get it. You need to snap out of it, essentially. And as long as you're not calling people from anyone else's table, you're fine to do what you want to do, what you need to do to make sales. We're all here for the same reason. You're trying to promote your book. You're trying to sell some books. You're trying to get your name out there. Continue to do so. Just because I said don't steal my customers doesn't mean that you can't still attract customers. So hopefully he doesn't hate me. He might, though. But what am I going to do about it?
That you can't control that. So
that's what happened today at the show. And I felt so bad, but at the same time I was so angry with him for making me feel bad.
He did not follow con etiquette.
But if he's new to the show,
well, I think,
which is why I chose to tell him so soon. Normally,
the thing is you weren't mean to him.
No,
you told him, look, this is how it's done.
But I was angry and may have come across when I talked to him.
You know what? Grabbing his shirt and pulling him in probably wasn't the best way to deliver that message, but he didn't do that.
So, it's tough, and you don't want to, you never really want to address issues like this at a convention because usually it's a neighbor that's infringing on you, and you've got to sit there with them all weekend long. So to tell them, hey this or hey that, and I've done it, and I've had uncomfortable weekends.
But sometimes you have to because we're there to make money. We're not here to just hang out and have a good time. We're there to make money. This is our job.
Chicago 2017 was probably one of the worst, and St. Louis 2017 was one of the worst.
Oh, St. Louis was brutal.
And it's part of the reason I didn't do shows last year is that it's getting so bad in Artist Alley. People are only out for themselves, and I get it. I get it. You want to sell your wares. You want to make money. You want to promote yourself. But I'm of the mind you don't inconvenience others for your own personal
it's not even inconvenience. You don't. You shouldn't be trying to cut the throat of other people, right, to benefit yourself.
Right.
We're all in the same boat, and when somebody is in front of your table, they're essentially your customer, and to be calling them away from somebody to try to sell them your stuff is just bad form. It's not how it's done.
It's been getting really bad in Artist Alley, and it felt good to take the time off. And coming back, and this happening, I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to sit there and stew over what was happening, so I addressed it right away. And I wish it's one of those things where I wish I took the discomfort instead. I wish I did sit there and stew all weekend long instead of making this kid or guy. He's an adult.
He's a kid. Was he 23? Maybe.
Still, I'm his favorite artist. And
that's gonna just tickle me all weekend.
And I shat on him.
It was awesome.
I wouldn't say it's awesome. I was very
No, you know what
conflicted.
though? Look, I mean, it was tough on the kid.
Listen,
it's tough on you because it makes you feel bad for having to do the right thing. But the kid's going to learn a lesson out of this. Roger learns a lesson today.
yes. Hopefully Roger learns.
Hopefully it makes Roger a better Artist Alley attendee in the future.
Yes. Listen, we are cynical people.
Yes.
We are a-holes to an extent. We're a-holes because we speak our mind and we tell the truth. And a lot of
people just can't accept that.
No, they can't. At the end of the day, I'd like to think that I'm not an asshole. I'd like to think that I'm not going out to make this guy or kid's con experience the worst.
Well, it's not that you're not an.
I have empathy.
You have empathy, yeah. I mean, we consider ourselves a-holes because other people just can't accept fact.
No.
We're nice guys. We just are able to live in the real world, and we can accept and deliver the truth. And a lot of people can't accept the truth.
Let me tell you something, kids. As you get older, the older you get, the less patience you have.
Yes.
So
that's a big time truth.
We don't have time to beat around the bush to walk on eggshells. If I have something to say, I'm going to say it.
Yep.
And some people can't deal with that.
Most people nowadays, everybody's too delicate to deal with the truth. And unfortunately...
But I'm not saying that you need to go out there and just be an a-hole to everyone.
No, it's not a point of
but say what you want to say.
A-hole.
Mean what you want to mean.
Exactly. Say what you mean what you say. That's kind of what a man does.
You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. You're not out there to do that.
And you can't control whether or not you're going to hurt someone's feelings.
But
you can deliver a message, and whether they allow it to hurt their feelings or not is up to them, not up to you.
Yeah, but again, I have empathy, and then I feel.
Well, yes, you have empathy, but you did not set out to hurt this. You did not set out to hurt Roger's feelings. You set out to educate Roger.
Correct. I hope Roger is okay. If Roger was truly my number one fan, which I don't know if he claimed to be my number one fan, but at this point, I think he might have been.
I'm your number one fan.
Then he would.
If you drive off the road in a snowstorm, I'm going to put you in the bed and take care of you.
But if he is a true fan, then he would be following my projects and possibly listening to this podcast. So if Roger, you are listening, my intentions were not to hurt your feelings, and they were not to be rude or harsh. I was just letting you know that it's not cool to do what you were doing. You probably didn't even notice you were doing it, but you were a little more conscious. Don't let me get you down. Still hustle. Still promote yourself. Just be a little mindful of the people around you. That's all. That's all. That's all. So that was today. Other than that, the show was pretty good. It wasn't gangbusters.
But there's a hell of a lot more foot traffic than last year, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a nice time. Got to visit with the Mr. Dirk Manning. I haven't talked to him in over a year. So that was nice. That was pleasant.
Even though he put on too much hair care product.
And had the most horrible gas today.
Dirk, you smelt like a barbershop.
Oh my God.
And a sewage treatment plant all at the same time.
It was horrible. Horrible.
But we love you.
We like you. So yeah, I'm back in the saddle. Doing the shows. Having a little fun. Pissing in people's Cheerios. But hey.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. You know, sometimes you run out of milk, and you don't want to put water on that.
No. We ain't got no milk.
But put some water on that.
We
were watching Friday just
Friday,
before we
right before we
this.
started this.
And if you haven't seen that movie, you need to.
That's essential watching. It's just
I can
amazing.
quote that movie all day long, probably the entire movie, and I can watch it whenever, with whomever, and have a good time with it.
It's just a fun movie.
The last good role Chris Tucker had.
That was his first movie.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
And you know this, man.
I've got a cough.
You got a cold.
I don't have a cold.
Just a cough?
I'm not mucusy. I'm not runny nose. I'm not sore throat. I just cough every now and then. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's affecting the microphone.
I'm getting old and I'm dying.
Well, we're all dying a little every day. Thank God.
But I think I'm speeding things up a little.
When you wake up in the morning, that's as good as the day's going to get. Remember that.
Possibly. What else were we going to talk about today?
I think we were going to talk about that Chinese doctor.
Oh. Okay. So, I think this is at least a month old now.
Oh, okay. Really?
It might be. So I'm sure most people are aware of it. But in China, there was a doctor.
Scientist.
Who genetically enhanced humans for the first time. Now, there were parents. I don't know if both parents
Just one. Just the father.
Okay. So, the parents wanted to procreate, and they went to the doctor. Dad has AIDS, and says, we want to have children, but we're worried about the children having AIDS, contracting AIDS from us. So the doctor said, I got this. And he genetically enhanced.
Well, it wasn't enhanced. I just read the article, so it's a little fresher in my mind.
Okay.
What he did was when the embryo was formed, when it was just that one cell, he went in there and did something to take out.
He pulled out a gene.
Pulled out the gene that would allow the embryo to contract AIDS.
Mm-hmm. So now these twin girls can go through life not worrying about contracting AIDS. So the process is called CRISPR.
Yes.
So they're referred to as the CRISPR twins. It's got the scientific community all in an uproar. It's got the religious community all in an uproar.
The doctor's being investigated for ethics violations, and
apparently there are some doctors here in the States that helped him or were a part of the process in some way, shape, or form. And, people are getting investigated left and right. I look at this and I go, listen, these parents want to have children. These two people found each other. They love each other and they want to procreate. They want to make little babies. This guy has gotten AIDS somehow. We don't know how he got it. We don't know if it was through unprotected sex. We don't know if it was through a blood transfusion. We don't know. And even if it was through unprotected sex, so what? The guy is still entitled to...
Yeah, he found the woman that loves him and wants to have a kid with him.
He's still entitled to have kids.
Yeah.
So they're worried about their kids. This man's able to help them. I understand that this is sensitive territory. But, come on. They have two beautiful little girls, and they're immune to HIV/AIDS.
I think
everyone needs to shut up.
The ethic questions and all that stuff. I mean, look at the advancement this is. I mean, if he could do that with AIDS, maybe he could do it with cancer. Maybe he could do it with, other diseases. This is a gigantic breakthrough.
Listen, I'm going to get personal with you guys. I have two little girls, and both of them have cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic disease. Both parents have to be a carrier of cystic fibrosis in order to produce a child that has cystic fibrosis. So I am a carrier. There's something in my genes that says, hey, if you find another woman that also has this defect, you have a chance of producing a child with cystic fibrosis. Okay, I think I found my wife in my wife. You know, I
think you found your wife,
yeah.
or I mean, you married her. I hope
I
she's
married this woman. I love this woman, and by having this situation, I feel like, well, maybe we weren't meant for each other because of what, the fact that us procreating causes a defect. So if we're able to go to a doctor and say, hey, doc, I'm a carrier for CF. My wife's a carrier for CF. Is there anything we can do? Sure. All I have to do is go in and pull something out, and your baby will not have cystic fibrosis. That is huge. That is huge. Your baby is guaranteed not to have Down syndrome. Your baby will not have whatever heart disease, whatever kidney disease, whatever other possible disease. Children should not have to worry about disease.
A world that doesn't need children's hospitals? How freaking beautiful would that be?
So, I come from it, or I approach this topic from that point of view. It's very personal to me. I would love if my children didn't have cystic fibrosis. I would love for a doctor to not tell me that I might outlive my children. I would love that. So that's the way I approach it. So I'm biased. I fully admit that I am biased.
But you know what?
But I know the flip side to this coin. I understand the flip side to this coin. And the flip side to the coin is, where does it end? The gene or the alteration to the gene that this doctor performed will also make these children, the twins, smarter. It's a byproduct of what he did.
Really?
Yes. They've tested it on mice and rats. The mice and rats are exponentially smarter, and it has shown
the mice and rats broke out of their cages, stole a car, and have now opened up a 7-Eleven.
So I don't know the exact sequence that was addressed offhand. I mean, I can look it up, I guess. But
I smell a sci-fi story.
Possible heightened human intelligence is a byproduct of what this doctor did. So the flip side to this coin is, what's to stop someone from going in and say, okay, I want my baby to have blue eyes. I want it to be blonde. I'd like it to be 5'7". I'd like her to have a nice healthy thyroid so she doesn't gain weight. I would like her to have heightened intelligence. I would like her to have heightened athletic abilities.
When are you going to build this girl? Because I want to date her.
But that's the flip side to the coin. It's weird science.
Yes.
I want her to have a B cup.
I'm of the mind that if we can do it, if we could do something that's going to prevent children from having to go through the horrors of any of these debilitating diseases, why
Absolutely.
not do it? I mean, yes, they'll probably live a lot longer, and who knows what'll come with that. But people are already living longer because of medical science. So I mean, it's just a product of advancement. It's going to happen. So get over it.
So part of that flip side coin is those changes, those selections could only be done by people who are rich, who can afford to do all this. So it's an
right
advantage.
Now,
it's another advantage of the
in 20 years, though, it might become something that's commonplace.
Right.
Everything when it starts is only available to the rich.
I think this could be extremely helpful. I think it should be regulated to protect certain things. Like, I don't think people should go in there and get these designer babies made. But if you could ensure that a child doesn't have
a horrible disease,
or you know what, with the whole vaccination scare that's happening, why not fix the problem beforehand?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's going to get
but
to
I think the people who won't vaccinate their kids also won't genetically modify their kids.
Now, here's the thing. Okay, so I'm pro CRISPR, provided there's regulations and rules and enforcement. You know, it needs to be somewhat under control. Moving on to the next
there needs to be a governing body.
Here's the problem with vaccination. There are definitive linked studies to vaccination and learning disabilities, autism, and even worse situations. But the people who are nuts about not vaccinating their children just hear that. They hear that blurb. You know, they hear this is tied to autism, or this is what happened to my kid when he got vaccinated. Here's the thing with the vaccines. The vaccines are not bad. What is bad are the preservatives in the vaccines. They use mercury. So, when you take your kid to your doctor's appointment, and no one wants to set up many doctor's appointments, they want to go in as few as possible. If they can only see a doctor once a year, that's perfect. But here's what happens. That doctor wants to administer 6 vaccines in one sitting. That doctor wants to expose your child to a higher level of mercury, which would cause autism or other potential problems.
But it's not every child.
It's not every child. So, you just have to make a decision as a parent, which we've done. We limit vaccinations to 2 per visit. So if we have to make just a vaccination appointment, we do so.
Exactly. Because you're a responsible adult who wants to take care of their kids.
Correct. So they have their yearly checkup. The doc comes in and says, hey, I want to do 4 vaccines. We say no, do 2. We'll see you in 2 months and you can do the other 2. Problem solved. Kids are getting vaccinated. You're limiting the amount of mercury that they're exposed to. Everything should be fine. So the problem with everyone, the non-vaxxers, is they're hearing the blurbs, they're hearing the headlines. You've got Jenny
and they're
McCarthy,
not educating themselves.
You've got Jenny McCarthy writing books saying, "Hey, vaccines is what caused my kid to have autism." It's not. Well, true.
You know what? I would take the word of a model over a scientist any day of the week.
I had the biggest crush on Jenny McCarthy.
Well, you know what? She's got a banging body, but I don't think she knows jack shit about science.
She may not know anything about science, but she knows her kid.
Well, she knows her kid, but
so I'm not saying.
But you know, the thing is, you know, she's got that, you know, 1 in a million kid that was affected negatively by vaccinations.
She's also somehow cured her child of autism.
Well, maybe she should start going on TV and talking about that instead of talking about not vaccinating.
She did. She wrote a book. She wrote up a follow-up, but she still blames vaccines.
What color crayon did she use?
Oh, and Jenny, I know you're listening to this podcast. I know you're watching us.
Because you just hound us constantly.
Please stop getting work done. Just age gracefully. It's fine.
And keep sending nudes.
I didn't expect to talk about vaccinations.
No, this is a
tangent.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.